Today is May 22nd, 2023. I'd like to discuss a few topics on off-grid systems, in specific off-grid environments that are quite popular, that they are here. They have been here in existence for a long time. And they are applications, very real and practical applications of off-grid environments, technologies. The very concept of being off the grid is basically demonstrated in very real terms with these technologies. I'm talking about very familiar technologies, use off-grid technologies, and these technologies apply many concepts that are considered odd and awkward when applied to homes, and yet they are very widely accepted and used when it comes to transportation vehicles that are basically used for moving stuff around, people around, transporting, even military vehicles. I'm talking about vehicles such as cars, trucks, trains, aircraft, ships, submarines. There is a long list of vehicles that have to, by design, by purpose, by use, they have to utilize off-grid technologies. They have to generate their own electricity locally and use it. They need to generate their own air supply in many instances. They need to generate their own power, mechanical power, to move, to be able to transport, whether it's people, cargo, both, and sometimes weapons, sometimes other goods and materials. For example, cars have an air conditioning system. They have a power plant. They have an electrical system and other systems that work off the grid. Being off the grid means that they're not connected to a outside source for either energy, a service, a type of work or force. They are self-sufficient, self-contained, and they are able to maintain this self-sufficiency and containment for practical periods of time, varying periods of time from, maybe perhaps a few days worth of use, like in the example of a vehicle. In the case of a vehicle, a car, for example, or a pickup truck can run perhaps for a few days with its internal supply of energy in the form of gas, in the form of a battery, in some cases, etc. In the case of, for example, a ship that can navigate through the waters, it could stay afloat and go for weeks to perhaps several weeks continuously. These ships could have enough fuel to run continuously again for many hours to weeks. And, other vehicles could go for even longer. In the case of submarines, many of them are powered by very fuel-efficient power supplies, such as diesel engines with huge tanks, or in some cases, many cases, a nuclear reactor power supply, which could supply various forms of energy in the form of electrical, heat, or mechanical. And again, these are just a few of the long list of examples of self-sufficient, off-grid technologies within these very familiar vessels. So the question remains, why are these technologies not used more in residences, homes, in the office, in places of work, in industry? Why self-sufficient, long-lasting technologies are not more widely incorporated into these buildings, these dwellings throughout, especially when it comes to residential homes. Residential homes are a bit easier to incorporate these systems since they are less energy consuming than perhaps commercial or industrial facilities like schools or hospitals. They are smaller, they consume a lot less energy, they perhaps are used a lot less in frequency, in magnitude, etc. We have, again, off-grid electrical systems powered by mostly generators in our vehicles. We have the 12-volt system, in most cases 12-volt, sometimes 24, sometimes 48, depending on the type of vehicle we're speaking of, whether it's a family car or a commercial truck. These vehicles have, again, their own electrical supply, electrical source in the form of an alternator, which provides energy to the battery. The battery keeps a good amount of charge. The alternator gets its energy, its mechanical energy, to produce a charge through the engine being more like a generator engine. And the generator produces a electrical current charge to send to the battery charger, which in turn maintains charge in the battery. The battery then sends the current to the different systems, lights, radio, your air conditioning, electrical requirements. It sends, charge to systems like your phone charger, many of the computerized and digital indication systems that you look at to measure and keep tabs on your speed, on your temperature of the various engine systems and the engine itself. Keep tabs on your surroundings through sensors, cameras, etc. These are all powered by the off-grid electrical system in your vehicle. The same thing occurs with the vehicle's heater, air conditioning, powered by a power source, which is usually your engine as the source to power those systems. Of course, there are other components such as your heat exchanger, your compressor, your water supply, etc. However, these are all also off-grid systems, meaning that they're not connected to an outside source. They don't have a hose or wire following your car everywhere. They are self-contained, self-sufficient, and they are quite reliable, having many decades of developments. These systems are sometimes very and extremely even reliable, and it is a mystery. It is just beyond explanation why many of these systems have not gone onto the buildings, our buildings, permanent buildings, semi-permanent buildings, places of dwelling, living, places of working, and the like. Air conditioning technologies and lighting systems for the home, an air conditioning system, as I mentioned, air cooling and air heating, water heating. It is basically on life support on most homes. On life support meaning that they have extended lines out to the outside world, to big power plants, to substations, to gas facilities, storage facilities. They have lines out to your cable company, TV cable company. They have lines out to your phone service provider, to your internet service provider. They even have invisible lines out to your satellite service provider through a satellite up in space. It is a repertoire of lines being extended out from your home, feeding your home, maintaining your home operational. That's why it is said that most homes are on life support. And this is, again, only a mystery why this is the case, having developed so many off-grid technologies throughout these decades. For example, also most or all spacecraft and space-bound vehicles are off the grid. They are self-sufficient, very, very efficient, and highly built and highly over-engineered self-sufficient vessels that basically provide everything on their own, self-sufficiently, included or inclusive of the craft. It basically takes an environment, maintains it, and basically transports it to outer space or near Earth orbit, or low Earth orbit, when carrying humans. And even without carrying humans, it still has a lot of the systems to maintain basically a small atmosphere within the aircraft, within the spacecraft. It has, again, air producing machinery that basically operates on its own power supply that is local, that is not coming from anywhere except perhaps some sun radiation through solar panels, which charge the batteries. But this is very much renewable, and it is very much considered to be locally generated because it is generated by equipment that is right there, that is included, that doesn't extend for miles out. It is all local. It is all off-grid. And, again, it has oxygen or air generating equipment. It has light generating equipment or lighting fixtures. It has self-sustained power plants, power sources. It has all kinds of machinery to recycle things like air and water, to recycle or reuse perhaps waste, human waste, and other types of waste. It has the capability to power all kinds of systems, hydraulic systems, mechanical systems, electrical systems, all with power sources that are local and that are included in the vessel that are included in the systems locally and off-grid, of course. We don't have to go too far. We have buses, we have trains that have a self-sustaining atmosphere, we have aircraft that have a pressured cabin with a self-sustaining atmosphere generated by machinery that are very, very efficient, very low energy when it comes to consumption. They are extremely reliable in some cases and very adequately reliable in most other cases. So these technologies could very well be transferred over to just any type of home, dwelling, building, and operate just about the same without the need to extend like the need to have power lines and water lines ran to a house. A house could be built from the ground up so it can have all these generated locally. It could have many systems working so it can be self-sustained. Solar panels, power generation machinery like generators that are quiet, that are very efficient. It could have water producing or water harvesting equipment that could harvest water from either underground, nearby bodies of water, the rainfall. It could have systems that recycle water, recycle waste, recycle all kinds of stuff, including paper waste, plastics, etc. to make energy with these things. These things are all possible. These things are all within reach. These things have been working in many of our very, very popular and accepted technologies. Yet we somehow think that our buildings, our homes, need to be on life support, need to be dependent on all kinds of services that are paid, that are quite expensive. Some of them are quite harmful for the environment, quite harmful for nature and other species and the land, polluting of the land, the air that we ourselves depend on, and other animals and plants depend on as well. So it is only wonder why we don't incorporate more efficient, more enclosed systems for our homes and have that be the norm, not be the very rare exception. For example, take air conditioning. Air conditioning in your vehicle. If you have ever ran your air conditioning without having your vehicle on, you can notice that it works. Your air conditioning works just fine without your engine being on. It doesn't need a power supply running constantly so it can work. So we know that we can have a very efficient and low voltage air conditioning in our rooms, in our places of work, using quality and long-lasting batteries, without having the humongous, power-hungry, and very inefficient air conditioning units that we mostly have in our buildings, in our homes, in our offices, in our schools. Just about everywhere you go, there is a humongous central air conditioning unit that many times is very, very wasteful and inefficient. You may be able to run your air conditioning in your vehicle for hours without the engine being on if you have a very good and dependable battery. That is all it needs. It needs the battery as a power source And then it needs its components, you know, of course, the air conditioning compressor, the heat exchanger, all these other stuff that I'm not too familiar with, but it works. It works. It is small. It is very self-sufficient, self-contained. It is long-lasting. The Freon that many of these air conditioning units use can last years, and you know, again, batteries can last also several years of use, and as long as you keep them charged, whether it's with other systems such as, you know, renewable energy, wind, solar, or even, you know, even grid energy with very low consumption, or even generators could keep these batteries, you know, full to the point where you can use your air conditioning when you need it, very few times of the day, and that few seasons of the year that you actually need the air conditioning, you can use it using very low voltage, very low energy consumption. Same thing applies with air heat. I, for example, have currently an electric vehicle that has a very efficient and very rapidly working air heater that works almost instantly when you turn it on. It doesn't need much time to heat up or, you know, for the temperature to rise. It happens almost instantly. It is very efficient. It draws a very small amount of energy from the battery. It has been developed and designed so it can be as efficient as possible and drain that battery as little as possible. Why not adopt these technologies to the home? Bring battery systems and very efficient air conditioners to the home that work on batteries, that work on low voltage, that work on very low energy consumption. Automate lighting. Automate, you know, the times of the day that your water heater is on. Cars and vehicles, aircraft, and all kinds of other vehicles have automated, computerized systems that turn off and on when it is needed. They turn off and on when it is detected that it should be off or on, even when there is human error. These systems have fail-safes and have, you know, safety mechanisms, safety circuits, safety programming that allows the system to protect the user and protect itself, and also be more efficient, save energy, you know, not waste energy. And, you know, this could utilize sensors, this could utilize all kinds of clever programming, so it can work. It has been applied to vehicles and other technologies, spacecraft, ships, and other technologies. Why can it not be applied for homes? Automation could take a new chapter, a new era of development, to where, you know, people are just not operating lights and BS, you know, televisions, and changing the color of lights or other useless, you know, features like that. But it's actually taking over many functions of the home that's going to save you very large amounts of energy. It's going to take control of when your air conditioning is on or off, you know, very smartly, when your water heater is on or off, etc. For example, air conditioners, for the most part, are dumb. Their controls are dumb. They are pretty much in two modes: automatic or off. Automatic meaning that it is only controlled by the temperature, but it is not taken into consideration that just going by temperature is actually quite inefficient, because a home could have a good temperature and at the same time be very deficient in airflow. A home could have, for example, a very low temperature inside, and the people inside are suffocating because there's no airflow, there's no oxygen flowing, because the outside temperature is making the inside of the house cool enough or hot enough, depending how you have your temperature set, to where your air conditioning just won't come on. More smart air conditioning thermostats are needed, to where air flow is considered, the availability of oxygen is considered, and also smart to the point to where if the house, for example, detects that windows are open, then it could shut the air conditioning off when more than two windows perhaps are open that allow for airflow. Maybe sensors could be incorporated where oxygen and airflow levels are detected, and the air conditioning could actually shut off until needed, because many times air conditioning is not needed during the day when there is enough airflow. Maybe perhaps the air conditioning itself could recommend the user to go ahead and open windows and shut the air conditioning off, because the temperature and the ambient environment is very pleasant outside, pleasant enough to go ahead and have windows opened up. The very design and construction of many of the homes are dismal, many times are nonsensical, many times are inefficient. Many of the homes today are windowless. They have windows that are designed not to be messed with or open and closed too often. And I believe this to be by design or made in purpose, because of the culture, the prevailing culture of having the air conditioning on all the time. I think this has become a culture, but I believe also this culture comes from habits encouraged and very, very gladly welcomed by corporate interests, fossil fuel company interests, electrical power company industry, and industry interests. They promote these habits, they encourage these habits, and they also welcome these habits when they come from people, when they come from sources that is outside of them, that they really didn't have anything to do with. They very gladly welcome them and encourage it further and further have people take part of these very inefficient habits.